Take a look at these two photos. In one, Elon Musk looks like he's clearly starting to lose his hair. In the other, he has a hairline most men in their 20s would be jealous of. Now, pause for a second, because this doesn't really make sense. What actually happened here? Did he get a hair transplant? Is he on finasteride or dutasteride? Or does having unlimited money actually change what's possible for your hair? Because depending on who you ask, you'll get completely different answers. And that's where this gets interesting. Go back to the late 1990s and early 2000s, around the PayPal era, and Elon Musk is not bald, but you can clearly see the early signs. The temples are starting to recede, the hairline is moving back, and the density at the front isn't what it used to be. Most people would call this early male pattern hair loss. But here's the part most people miss. This stage is where hair loss quietly starts to decide your future. Because it doesn't look dramatic at first. It just slowly progresses, year after year, until one day it isn't subtle anymore. So the real question is, how do you go from this to what we see today?
This is where most of the internet debate begins. The most widely discussed theory is that Elon Musk had a hair transplant, or possibly more than one. And to understand why people believe this, you need to understand what a transplant actually does. It doesn't create new hair. It relocates permanent hair from the back and sides of the scalp into thinning areas like the front. So when you look at Elon's modern hairline, what stands out isn't just that it's thicker, it's that it looks structurally different, more defined, more stable, more designed. Now, some people online even speculate about multiple procedures over time, possibly older strip-based methods followed by more modern techniques. And there are even claims about specific clinics. But here's the important part. None of this has ever been confirmed. This is all interpretation based on visual patterns. Still, one thing is hard to ignore. A change this significant is very difficult to explain without some form of surgical intervention. But even that doesn't fully answer the question, because surgery alone doesn't explain long-term stability. And that's where things get more interesting. Here's something most people misunderstand about hair transplants. They fix what's already lost, but they don't stop future loss. So if someone only gets surgery and does nothing else, the surrounding native hair can continue to thin over time. And that's where maintenance becomes critical. Because the result you see after a transplant isn't just about the surgery itself. It's about what happens in the years after. This is where long-term consistency becomes the real clue. And in hair loss discussions, that usually leads to one idea: some form of ongoing stabilization. Which brings us to the medication theory. But this is where the debate gets even more divided.
What's keeping the rest of the hair stable? The most commonly suggested explanation is DHT suppression, typically finasteride or dutasteride. These medications don't rebuild hairlines. They slow or stop the hormone process that causes further miniaturization. So, in theory, they help preserve whatever native hair is still there. Some people also speculate about minoxidil, which works differently. It stimulates growth activity in follicles, but doesn't stop the underlying cause. But here's the key point. None of this is confirmed. Elon Musk has never publicly stated using any of these treatments. So everything here is based on pattern analysis and general medical understanding, not direct evidence. But there is still one reason people keep returning to this theory: consistency. Because maintaining that level of density over many years is not something that happens randomly. Which brings us to the bigger picture, the real lesson. At this point, it's easy to over-focus on Elon Musk specifically, but that misses the real takeaway. Because this pattern isn't unique. It's actually the standard progression in modern hair restoration. Early recession, a decision to intervene, a transplant to restore density, and long-term maintenance to stabilize results. And here's where most people get the wrong idea. They think there's a secret treatment behind results like this. But in reality,
The core tools are not secret at all. Hair transplants, DHT blockers, and consistent long-term management. What actually changes the outcome isn't the technology, it's timing and consistency. The earlier you act, the more you can preserve. The more consistent you are, the more stable the result. And when you look at cases like Elon Musk through that lens, the mystery becomes less about what special thing did he do, and more about what combination of standard tools was likely used over time. Because in the end, hair restoration isn't magic, it's a strategy. And the people who understand that early tend to get very different outcomes than the people who don't.